that is preparing for an interview, or perhaps you're feeling a bit frustrated because you're not presenting your very best and polished version of yourself in your interviews? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you not one, not two, but three power moves that you can use that will help you to stand out from other candidates as a woman in leadership when you are interviewing. Now, this is a topic that I was asked to do a video on specifically because my target audience that I provide direct services to are women in leadership. However, on many of my platforms, particularly YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram, that I have accounts on right now, I have women in leadership and men in leadership that follow the information. So in this video, some of the information is going to be catered to my direct target audience of women in leadership. But if you're a man in leadership, you will learn some insights here as well. This is a topic that women struggle with because sometimes we're not quite sure of what we need to say and how we're going to say it, and etc. So if you can start implementing these three power moves that I'm going to share with you, and I'm also going to share with you a bonus you absolutely want to write down. So you want to make sure you watch this video until the very, very end to get everything you need to get started with setting yourself apart during the interview process. I want to know from you, how many of you have ever been in an interview and felt like you just did not do your best? Or maybe you've been in an interview and you felt like you did your best, but for some reason you're not landing the job interviews or the job actual positions. Let me know in the comments below, because there's certain strategies that we can talk about in the comments that can help you go to that next level. Now, I have a lot of content here on my channel that specifically talks about interviewing, strategies, resume, and public speaking and communication, and etc. So I'm not going to go into all of that today, but the three power moves are going to be very important for you to do. Now, this is a live video. If you are watching this portion of the video, you are more than likely watching the replay, and I welcome you and I appreciate you so much for spending a few moments out of your day with me today. As a live video, there will be a point in time where people start to join the live, and give me just a few moments to say hello to those who have joined so I can greet them and say hello, get our conversation started, and then we're going to dive right into the three power moves that women need to have in their next interview. So I want to say hello to Daniel 08363. Hello, welcome. Jamie P.O. I hope I said your last name correctly. Welcome. Glad you all are here today. Let me know where you all are joining from in this big, beautiful world today. And if you are ready to learn some power moves that will help you in your interview as a woman in leadership, then this is the absolute place you want to be. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to dive into what we have to do to help you as a woman in leadership be able to do well in your interviews. I want to say hello to Sanelli. If I said it correctly, I hope so. Sanelli Maluka. Hello, new subscriber from South Africa. Well, thank you, Sanelli. Welcome to the group. This is a great place for you to be. I have my target audience I support directly in terms of services, women in leadership, but I have a lot of men in leadership in my subscriber list, and all the information I'm sharing with you is for you as a leader, and it will help you in your interview setting. So just get ready. If you're ready, I'm ready. So let me see what's going on in the chat. Daniel 08363. Actually, it's just Danny. Okay, Danny, appreciate that. Thank you so much. So I will call you Danny. All right, we have ST4R. Hello. We had at Alif Satending. Hello. And Jamie, thank you so much for the update. And let me know where you all are joining from today. We have Men in a Woo. Hello. How are you doing today? So let me get started, because I know you all are here because you want to learn about these three power interviews that can happen, that you can use in your interview setting. And this information I'm sharing with you is specifically for situations that come up. So hold on one moment. Daniel says, what are we talking about? Okay, Danny, so we're talking about three power moves women need for their interview. Now, some of the moves I'm going to share with you are going to be moves that you can use in your roles. Just hang in there with me. It will help you do very well in your interview. So Jamie P.O. says, I was married today. Well, congratulations. And it's your birthday. Wow, Jamie. Well, you have a celebration. I give you a high five here from the Sunshine State of Florida. All righty, fantastic. Danny says, best wishes at Jamie P.O. Well, thank you so much. Absolutely. Appreciate you all being here today. Sanelli Maluka says, it is almost 5 a.m. in South Africa. I might pass out. Well, that's okay. There's going to be a replay, and I appreciate you being here just to say hello. There's a lot of content here on my lives for Jamie, Danny, and Sanelli, and Min, Nawu, and ST4R, Alif Satending. There's a lot of content here on my lives that specifically talks about interviewing skills. How can you really do well in your interviews? How can you communicate at that higher level? So if you really want to go to that next level, this is the place for you to be at today. We're about to jump into it in just a second. We have Jazzy44. Hello, Jazzy. How you doing today? Danny says, oh, can I have a high five too? Yes, sir. You can absolutely have a high five. Absolutely. All right. So we have D. Smith. Espanol. Hola, hola, ¿cómo estás? Habla un poco español. All right, D. Smith, welcome, welcome. All right, so let me start off with this. So when you are in an interview settings can be a bit challenging. A lot of times we're not taught what to do. We get nervous. We don't know what to say, how to say it, and we just are a little scared. Now, specifically, as I mentioned, this is talking more for women in leadership. There are a lot of things, if you're a man in leadership watching this, that you can pull out of it. But sometimes what happens, particularly at the very beginning of an interview setting, we are just nervous. We're really concerned. So I want to share with you the very first power move that will be applicable to any of you watching today that you need going into your interviews. All right, you ready? The first power move is that you have to go into your interview with confidence. Now, a lot of times on YouTube, you will hear people talk about confidence, confidence, confidence. What does that mean? People will tell you all the time to use your confidence. But let me break it down for you specifically as an executive coach. And I do want to preface this by saying that I have been a C-suite executive, a manager, a director, a public speaker, and executive coach for really over 20 years. And so I'm sharing with you my experience of doing hundreds of interviews and having reviewed hundreds of resumes to really help to accelerate you as you're going to that next level. So the first way you can start building confidence in yourself when you're going into those interview settings is to think about the accomplishments that you have completed throughout your time in your specific career or role that you are applying for. Many times what happens is that we get so in our heads that we do not take that time to think about how amazing we are. And when you are lacking confidence in an interview, it will completely show. And so this is a power move, because when employers are looking to hire other people, they are looking for those individuals that are very, very, very sharp individuals that can bring a lot of value to their organizations. So you absolutely want to come in with confidence. Think about the accomplishments that you have had or you have done and really put some numbers to those. How did you do a percent increase in terms of collections or a decrease in collections? Did you launch a product? Did you record some videos? Did you do something clinical? It depends on your role, but take just a few moments out of your day to think about what are the things that make you awesome. Now, if you're struggling with this and you're not quite sure, that you think, well, maybe I have a few things, but I'm not quite sure what they are, then this is why you reach out to me. Reach out to me. There is a link in the description below for a strategy session where we have a very brief call just to discuss where you are and what you're struggling with and how we can help you feel like maybe you're not as confident as you want to be to start developing the unshakable confidence that you absolutely need as this very first power move. So I'm going to go into the second power move in just a moment. I do want to take a look and see what is being said in the chat, and I'm going to put a question. Hopefully on this live stream, I'm able to put the question and move it from the top of my head. As many of you have watched my videos recently, I'm doing some more features here on YouTube. As many of you do know, I was invited to be a part of YouTube's live streamer research panel. So I'm trying to use a bit more of the tools and interactive features of the live streams. So bear with me. I'm going to ask you all a question in a few, but I want to see what's going on in the chat first. Okay, so we have Jamie. I need help with Chester High. Okay, let's see what's going on Chester High. Let's see. Okay, so I believe what you're referring to is that, are you referring to you're being bullied or someone else being bullied? Let me know, Jamie, in the comments below, and I'll be happy to respond to you. All right, Danny says, where did you get your experiments? Okay, so are you talking about the things that I'm mentioning? If you're speaking about that specifically in terms of confidence and what you can do to start building your confidence if you are in an interview or preparing for an interview, this is what I've seen over 20 years. I've worked as a C-suite executive and a manager and a director and a supervisor. So I've done this for over 20 years now. And so I've been at that highest level of leadership to communicate with other people. These are the type of scenarios in areas that I see people really struggle with when they come into an interview. So confidence is number one. Confidence is going to be universal. Oftentimes, we struggle with confidence, and this goes for men and women alike. But of course, I'm focusing in on specifically for women in this particular live. But we struggle with confidence. So if you take a few moments to really think about what it is that you have done that makes you amazing, that helps to just kind of boost up your confidence as you're going into your interview. So give me just a moment. Let me see if I can actually do a question today. Let's see how this works today. Give me just a moment. And I'm typing a question on here, so that is why I am quiet for just a moment. Let's see how this works today. I've been trying this out, and for some reason, it goes on top of my head. I don't know why. So let's see if it'll allow me to move it this time. Let me know if you all see the questions. So I may need to give YouTube some feedback on this, because every time I do this, it only moves when it wants to. So it may be something I have to work on. But nonetheless, I'll have it on my head for just a few moments. I'll try to duck down. What are your biggest interview challenges? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know how I can support you. Feel free to learn from my over 20 years experience to help you stand out from all the other candidates. I know a lot of people out there are struggling with their interviews right now, and they're going on interviews and they're not receiving the job opportunities, and they're getting really frustrated. Their income is getting depleted because time is going by. And so I want to support you. So if you have something you want to ask specifically, let me know either in the live chat right now, or let me know in the replay. If you're watching the replay, just put it in the comments below. I will absolutely look at my comments, and I will respond to you and provide you with some strategies that can help you on your journey. Now we're going to go into the second power move that you need to do when you are interviewing for positions. And this is specifically, as I mentioned, this is to help you all. This information will help you, but sometimes what happens, particularly as women in leadership, let's see if I'm going to take the question off. Sometimes when we are women in leadership, what happens is that we can sometimes struggle as it relates to how we're presenting ourselves. So the second power move in an interview that you want to be able to showcase is your executive presence and showcasing your executive presence. Now, before I go into how you can really showcase yourself as an executive, as a woman in leadership, let me see what's going on in the chat. Okay, so Danny says, I'm sorry, I still don't know what we're talking about. Is it relationship? No. Okay, so Danny, so we're talking about interviewing. So this is interviewing for, let's say, your jobs. This could be any positions that you're applying for, that you're trying to seek employment, or perhaps you're trying to gain income in. And so these are strategies that help you with your interviewing skills to help you be able to stand out from other candidates. That's what I'm really focusing in on for the live today, is these power moves that you can use to help you be able to stand out from everybody else as it relates to the interview process. So I hope that clarifies what we're talking about. Not relationship. I really focus more about professional development, career building, and really helping to elevate you in your career. So this is specifically around interviewing. How can you present yourself as that best person, best individual that the company needs to hire? So hope that clarifies that. Now, in terms of my second power move, as I mentioned a few moments ago, what is helpful for you to do is to showcase your executive presence. And so for those of you who may not know what executive presence is, people have different definitions for it. There's a lot of information about it, and there's a lot of information about executive presence that I do not agree with. I feel like it is not an accurate depiction of executive presence. I do believe that executive presence outweighs a lot of things that people talk about nowadays. It has a lot more to do with charisma. I have a LinkedIn Live that I did specifically for that. But I do want to say, when you go into an interview, particularly as a woman in leadership, you want to present yourself as a leader and as an executive. So my very humble definition of executive presence is your ability to inspire and influence other people. That's my very short definition. Now, there's other definitions out there as it relates to executive presence that are about this long in terms of their explanation, but I like to keep things simple, and I like to talk about what really happens realistically, what you can expect when you're trying to showcase and develop your executive presence. So how do you do this? So specifically for women, sometimes we'll go into interview settings where we may be interacting with a position or a role that has possibly been predominantly occupied by men. And sometimes there may be some hesitation there. We may be interviewed by a mixture of men and women, or you may be interviewed by a group of men or a group of women. Sometimes it can actually do that. So it can be really challenging. You're not quite sure exactly in terms of what specifically you want to do or how you want to do it or how you want to say it. So you get really intimidated. So I'm going to share with you what you can do to try to make yourself look like an executive. But let me take a look, see what's going on in the comments below. Okay, so Danny said, should you get another one? Yes, if you want to, Danny. It's completely up to you. It's up to you. Danny says, I'm working in Army. They never interview you. Well, Danny, first and foremost, I appreciate you and thank you for your service. Number one, that's the most important thing I can say. And if they never interview in the Army, that's probably about right. Right? They probably don't interview you necessarily. However, there are some skills, some communication skills that you can learn as you are developing yourself in the Army. Would really like to know, what role are you in the Army right now? Are you in a specific, I know they have divisions, etc., but are you doing something specifically? So feel free to let me know, but thank you so much for your service. We appreciate you. So how can you present yourself as an executive in a interview setting? What can you do? Well, the first thing you need to do is to speak in a very concise way. What happens a lot of time in interviews is that people will start to just ramble. And sometimes this happens to women in leadership. Also, we start to talk and start just communicating and just talking about things that may not necessarily be relevant to the job. So if you can try to listen a bit more than you speak, then that will help you to present yourself as an executive. When you think about executives, those are the individuals who are getting things done, who are making sure everything is taken care of, they're communicating themselves in a very articulate way, and they know what they're doing. So if you come across as a person that's rambling and talking, it will make you appear as if you're not executive-like. And so when you're in that setting where you're interviewing with, let's say, a group of men or a mixture of men and women, if you feel like you're a little bit intimidated, if you start to be very concise and very articulate with your answers and allow them the opportunity to respond, it just makes you seem like you are able to take care and handle yourself. This is a strategy that I share with my clients in a one-on-one setting to really help them stand out. Articulate and concise communication is the fastest way for you to be able to present yourself as an executive in the leadership realm, and especially when you're going into an interview, because people struggle with this. And if you're the candidate that can speak in a concise way, you will stand out from the rest of them, because most people struggle with this part of the interview process, which is rambling, because they don't know what to say. You have to define your stories, which is what I work with my clients on in a one-on-one setting to do. Now, the third power move I want to share with you all is one that people don't really talk about that much. And before I go into it, I want to know from you, what are some challenges or some struggles that you have right now during the interview process? Maybe you're going through a lot of interviews and you're noticing that you are not receiving job offers. Let me know in the comments below. I will share with you over 20 years worth of experience to really help you go to that next level and provide you with some strategy that I would typically provide you with in a one-on-one setting with a fee associated with it, but you're going to get that here for no cost on YouTube Live. So feel free to ask me anything. I will support you in any way that I can. Now, the third power move, and this is the third, and as I mentioned, I promise you all I was going to give you a bonus. So the third power move is to control your facial expressions. Now, we have Danny here, and I know Danny is probably very, very versed in controlling facial expressions, especially being in the Army, because I'm sure you have to do that sometimes. So specifically as it relates to the interviewing skills, you want to control your facial expressions. There's times in an interview where women in leadership, we have to smile, but there's sometimes we don't necessarily need to smile. And this is something that I'm going to talk more about in my executive presence book that's going to be coming out relatively soon. But there's times when you need to smile and there's times when you don't. Sometimes I've noticed with women in leadership, what happens is that we feel like we always have to smile. Like we always have to just have the smile on our face. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have a smile on my face majority of the time, unless there's some fire or some crisis going on, then I have to go into C-suite mode. But having a smile is very, very beneficial. However, you have to use it strategically. You don't want to be the person that's just like smiling then all the time. There's sometimes where you may need to not necessarily smile depending on what is being discussed. If it's a serious topic, then you want to show serious emotions. If it's a very friendly, cordial topic, then you want to be able to show very friendly and cordial emotions. This is a way to make it appear as if you are somebody that stands out from other people, because oftentimes in an interview setting, people do not practice, and I do this with my clients. We do one-on-one practice interview sessions where we go through STAR interview-based, behavioral-based questions, and I give them feedback. So if there's something you're interested in and you're struggling in your interviews and you haven't been able to secure an employment opportunity, you definitely want to reach out to me. Absolutely. My clients have been able to get their interviews wonderfully done, and they have been able to secure employment also. So as I mentioned, you have to be very strategic with when you're smiling, when you're not smiling. You don't have to smile all the time. You do have to know and monitor your facial expressions. So if there's a question that throws you completely off guard, your facial expressions, yes, leaders, will tell the interview what you do not want to say. So you want to be very mindful in terms of what you're doing with your face. Particularly the areas you want to focus on are going to be your eyebrows, because sometimes when we are caught off guard, our eyebrows immediately go up because our body is trying to process what is happening here, right? What did they just ask me? I don't understand. So your eyebrows may go up, they may go down, depending on what's being asked. The second aspect that I want you to start focusing in on and controlling is your lips. Your lips can either show a smile or maybe show a frown, like you're not quite sure what is being said. So you have to be very, 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 very mindful in terms of how you are communicating with other people, especially in an interview setting, because oftentimes we are caught off guard. And I'm telling you from my perspective as a C-suite executive, as a director and a manager for 20 years, I can pick up like that what you are thinking just because I have done this over 100+ times now. So you want to be very, very careful with your facial expressions. I know a lot of people, when they talk about interview preparation and etc., especially here on YouTube and maybe on some other social media platforms, they are talking to you and sharing this information to you from a very superficial standpoint. What do I mean by that? They are telling you, say this, do that, have your resume ready. But I talk about real things here, and I'm here to share with you your facial expressions matter. People don't really talk about that. They talk about it more in a public speaking standpoint, possibly. But I'm here to help you communicate at that next level than your peers, so that when you are talking to other people, communicating, regardless if you're a woman in leadership or a man in leadership, they automatically know this person stands out. And you stand out, hopefully, by subscribing to my channel and learning as much as you can in terms of how to communicate at the higher level. I've been in very friendly situations and very contentious situations, which is why I'm able to provide you with these elite level skills in terms of how to communicate at that next level. Because as I mentioned many times on my channel, people become great by how they communicate. So my role here on this earth is to help to unlock the greatness in you. How do we do that? By helping you communicate at a higher level. So watch your facial expressions. That is very, 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 very important, because this is something that you absolutely want to be able to try to do when you are trying to really showcase yourself as the best candidate for a position. As I mentioned, these 3 things I've shared with you, these are three power moves that if you can start mastering them in your interviews as a woman in leadership, and as I mentioned, there's information here that men in leadership can apply and use too, you can really showcase yourself as that person that stands out. Even if you're not doing interviews, as Danny mentioned earlier, this type of skills that I'm sharing with you, or these skills I'm sharing with you, will help you just to stand out in your day-to-day conversations. And that is really my mission here, is to make you stand out from everybody else as that person that everybody is saying, wow, this individual, he or she is amazing. What is it about them that makes them amazing? Is how they are speaking. So for those of you who have just joined, welcome, welcome. I've shared with you three power moves that women need to have for their leadership roles that they're interviewing for. 3 interview power moves that you absolutely have to have. And you can draw inferences from these rules I'm sharing with you to any conversation you're having, but I'm going to go through them and then provide you with the bonus. But before I do the bonus, I'm going to take a look in the comments below and see what's going on in the chat. So the first power move that interviews need to have in them as women to keep in mind is you have to come in confident. That's number 1. You have to come in confident in your interview, regardless of where you are. Women, we have to come in confident in interviews. Second is you have to present yourself as an executive. This is a power move that a lot of people do not do. Whether you are in an interview setting where you are being interviewed by a group of men, or you're being interviewed by a mixture of men and women, you as a woman going into your interview to present yourself as a powerful leader, you need to use this powerful move. There's a lot of videos here on my channel that talk specifically about executive presence. This is the place where you want to be if you're trying to really elevate yourself. I have a video on my LinkedIn account that is an event where I talked about executive presence in a bit more detail. It has some really great information there. So follow me at LinkedIn on Dr. Jacinta Lamantai. The link is in the description below. Now, the third and the final power move you want to have as you are interviewing as a woman in leadership is to make sure you're very careful and very, very mindful of what your facial expressions are doing. Now, this is your eyebrows, and this is specifically your lips. So definitely check out the replay and take a look at that. So those are the 3 power moves. Now I want to give you a bonus. This is a bonus one that is a power move that anyone can use as they are going into their interviews. And if you're ready for it, this is my famous one I talk about on my channel, and this is the cowboy analogy. And if you have not watched my videos in the past, and maybe you don't know what the cowboy is about, then I'm going to tell you about this and how you can use my cowboy analogy as your bonus power move. And if you heard cowboy, you know exactly what I'm going to talk about, and you know how this can help you present yourself as a leader. All right, so let me look in the chat before I go into my bonus. Okay. Danny says, that's fascinating. Mind if we talk to you? Yes, absolutely. Feel free to ask me any questions that you have specifically. You know, if you're trying to really elevate yourself in terms of how you're communicating, this is what I'm here for. I'm really here to support you any way that I can. So ask me any questions. I'll be happy to support you as it relates to your professional development and helping you communicate at the higher level than your peers. Okay, so Danny says, why do we talk about women? It's just me. Well, Danny, so appreciate you, one, obviously, for being here. I'm so glad that you're here. So on my channel specifically, what we talk about is a lot of things, especially as it relates to really communicating at that higher level as an individual. Now, the target audience that I provide direct services with are women in leadership. That's the audience that I work with directly in terms of my client base. However, on all the platforms, and especially here on YouTube, I have a lot of men in leadership that are subscribed to my channel as well. And so majority of the content that you see on my channel, you can see there's a mixture of leadership, communication that goes into the topics of helping you go to that next level as a communicator. However, there's sometimes, depending on the topic and what's going on, I do focus on my client base that I specifically work with. But many of the things that I talk about can be applied in many situations, even if you are men in leadership. If you were interviewing, I know you're not specifically because you're in the Army, but confidence, your executive presence, and managing your facial expressions are power moves that you can really use in any conversation that you're having as a leader, whether you're in an interview, if you're in a boardroom, or if you're in a high stakes, high pressure situation. The topics that I share and the expertise that I share is relevant to any gender, male or female, is relevant either way. But this particular topic for this live specifically is focusing more on women in leadership who are going into interview settings, because that's the direct client base that I specifically work with. Now, for this video, if it's just the two of us on here at the moment, what happens on YouTube sometimes is that there's fluctuations in terms of who joins, especially for the lives. And this is one of the reasons why YouTube invited me to be a member of their live streamer research panel, is because I've done so many lives on YouTube this year that YouTube has noticed I've done a lot of lives on YouTube this year. And so what happens is you have people that come in, you have people that come out of the actual interviews. So what happens is that not only do people see specifically that in and out coming, and you kind of see it fluctuate when you're looking at it, but what happens is my audience that are my subscribers, if they're not able to join the live, they actually come and watch the replay. So that's the reason why it may look like it's just the two of us talking, but in actuality, it's me having a conversation with you, of course, but it's my audience as well, because many of them do come back and watch the replays. So I hope that answers your question in terms of giving you some insight in terms of, kind of what we're talking about. Why is it women focused? This live video is something that I'm focusing in on women specifically, because I had one of my clients ask me to talk a little bit more about some of the challenges she's been experiencing as a woman when she's interviewing in roles that have been predominantly occupied by men. All right, so we have Reliable Auto. Hello, welcome. Glad you're here today. Reliable Auto. So I am a big car fan. So tell me a bit about your cars. What kind of cars are you working on, etc. This is something that I would talk about briefly, but this is a topic for those of you who know me specifically or have been on my channel, that this is one of my topics that's a trigger for me. And if you don't know about the triggers, then I have to subtitle the video about triggers. You have to know your triggers about things in cars, or things. I'm talking about my triggers. My triggers are public speaking and cars. I'll talk about those all day, pretty much. So if you know your triggers when you're in interview settings, then you can deflect and not talk about them as much. If I was in an interview setting and someone asked me about public speaking, I would probably just go in and talk about it. But I know it's a trigger for me. So in order for me to sound concise in an interview, I'm not going to talk about public speaking that much, because it's a trigger. If you don't know if it's a trigger beforehand, you would just talk, and then you'll go into the rambling category that we talked about and not being concise, and you're not the person they want to hire. So glad you mentioned that. Glad we're talking about Reliable Auto. I'm not sure if they're still here or not, but glad to see that you're here. All right, Danny said, okay, let's talk about you. How old are you? What do you do for a living? Well, so Danny, I've been around for a long time. I've been doing leadership for over 20 years. So this is definitely a passion of mine. What do I do for a living? That's a fantastic question. So I actually am an executive coach. So I'm an executive coach and a public speaker, and I've been doing that for a long time. However, I have been practicing as a general dentist for a very long time as well. So my career has been in the dental field. I've been a dentist for many, many years now. And so I decided to make a transition, because the roles I had in dentistry, along with treating patients and practicing clinically, have been very higher level in terms of administrative wise also. And so that's where I've been able to grab and have been able to gain a lot of insight into how to communicate at the higher level, because I've been in those very highest levels of leadership in big organizations where I've had to manage many employees and go through the interviewing process and all of those things. So that's what I do. I'm an executive coach. I'm a public speaker. I'm here to really support everybody that I can. I really want you all to go to that next level as leaders. And so the way to do that is to show you specifically how you can do these amazing technical skills that sometimes people think are out of reach. So one of the things, Danny, I'm glad you mentioned that, and I'm glad we're going into that. One of the things that I'm actually working on my channel right now, and so I do a lot of lives, Danny. And if you like the content, you're welcome to subscribe. You'll get a lot of insight here. So what I do on my lives specifically is I talk about different topics that come up. However, what I'm going to start doing, and I need the help from the audience on this, is I'm going to start actually recording individuals that you all aspire or are inspired or motivated by when they speak. So why am I doing that? So the reason I'm doing this is because I want to be able to provide a service to you all via YouTube. And what I'll do is I'll take a look at their videos and I will pull out what they are doing, what they are saying, how they are saying it that is inspiring you or motivating you, and make it in a way to where it makes sense for you to start implementing those same strategies, those same techniques, or something similar to make you be that person that is motivating and inspiring to other people. I have a few people on my list right now that my audience has given me. So if any of you that are watching the live video, if you have a leader, a world leader, regardless of where you are, that has at least some videos on YouTube that I can look at and be able to analyze how they're communicating from a public speaking standpoint, I will help you to start being that amazing person that inspires other people by showing you specifically what they're doing as it relates to going into that particular role. Okay, so let me know if you all have some leaders that inspire you, motivate you. Let me know in the comments below, because I will do a video just for you and analyze what they are doing. And you can take those very tangible strategies, techniques that you probably have never paid attention to before. That's why I'm here, is to help you, to showcase to you how you can start doing those type of strategies and communication styles also to motivate and inspire other people. All right, so Danny says, do you like Audi? Yes, Audis are really nice cars. They have always been nice cars. I remember my grandmother, actually, she had a Audi, and this is years, I mean, this is a long time ago now, but she had an Audi. But the Audis have always been, I would say their design has always been very sleek. They've always been very, very nicely designed cars from when they came out. So Audis are nice. You know, they've stepped up quite a bit. You know, if you have the R8, of course, you know, a lot of people want the R8. And, you know, they have their SUV now. What is it, like the Q4 or something like that? So Audis are nice. They're nice vehicles. All vehicles are nice. There's some vehicles, let me not say that. There's some vehicles that I don't think have been done correctly. I don't think they've been done correctly. So one of the vehicles I think that has not been done correctly, just for me to say it out loud, because I'm sure many of you will say this too, maybe. One of the vehicles I personally feel like has been just done incorrectly, and let me know what vehicles you all think have been done incorrectly, is the Range Rovers. So if you are a Range Rover fan, and I've had a Range Rover, they're nice cars. They're nice cars, but they give you a lot of problems. They do give you a lot of problems. But what I've found that happened with the Range Rovers recently, they've kind of transitioned out of that, is that, you know, they typically are the larger body, tall vehicles. But for some reason, they decided with the Velar and the Evoque, they wanted to make the vehicles just shorter. It looks literally to me like an elephant sat on the car and said, here is the Range Rover now. So I don't really know why they did that. I just, for me, I guess as a once owner of a Range Rover, I don't quite understand why did they do that? So I feel like that car has been through some transitions. It's not where it needs to be. Now, they have since changed that. So you don't see those cars out. They're still there, but you don't see them as much anymore. You're starting to see the taller vehicles come back in terms of Range Rovers. So you're seeing those come out now more than the ones that were just squished for whatever reason. So I just feel like that car has not had I don't know what they've been doing with that line. They've been owned by different companies, of course, and they have different styles and etc. So that's just my 2 cents. But yes, Audis are nice vehicles. They definitely are really nice vehicles. So Danny says, I love cars. My next one is going to be an Aston Martin Vanquish V12. Okay, fantastic, awesome. I do not know. I'm not so Aston Martin. I like Aston Martins. I don't follow them as closely as I do, let's say, the cars I follow a bit more would be a Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini, I would say Bugatti some. So I follow those a bit. And the Aston Martins, I haven't followed those as much as I want to. But Danny, if you could tell me, what is the horsepower of the Aston Martin V12? I'm assuming V12 is probably pretty high. I mean, I can just kind of guesstimate what it is. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I do have knowledge of other V12 engines, and most of the time, they may be around, between like 750 horsepower, depending on what they are, to 1,000 horsepower, depending on the car. Like, for instance, the Lamborghini Revuelto, that one's, what's the horsepower for that? I think it's like 1,015 or something like that, I believe. It's been a while since I looked at it. But anyways, I don't know the horsepower for the Aston Martin Vanquish, but I do know that is a very, very nice car. Very nice car. With those type of cars, sometimes it's hard to find them, right? So do you have a specific color for your Aston Martin Vanquish, Danny, that you're trying to get? Sometimes you have to really look around for the cars. I don't know. I haven't followed Aston Martin as much as I should. So now that you mention it, Danny, I'm going to add that to my list of cars to just kind of glance at and see what's going on in that market. I don't know if they're very specifically as it relates to the number they produce. I'm assuming for Aston Martin, probably so. They probably produce just a certain amount at a specific time. I don't know what their time frame is. I know Lamborghini produces just a few, not a few at a time. There's a certain number that they produce, depending on what's going on. So I don't know. I have to read up a little bit more on Aston Martin. If you have some more insight on it, just let me know in the comments below. Okay, so Danny said you breezed through the interview. Respect, girl. Well, thank you, Danny. I appreciate that, and respect you for your service in the Army. Thank you so much. Okay, so Danny said it's about 1,200 horsepower. I don't know exactly. Right, so yes. That makes about, if it's 1,200 is quite a bit. I need to check that out. I'm actually going to look at that. And the next time I have a live, which will likely be tomorrow, I will mention about that specifically. But I'll have to take a look at the Aston Martin Vanquish. I would think it would be in that type of horsepower category because it's a V12. So I just know from my research, those are about what those cars are. So that's good to know. I'll have to take a look at it and see if it's 1,200. I don't know if they have, I haven't been able to look to see if Aston Martin is going into the hybrid category too, where they're starting to bring in their electric motors and etc. I know many other supercars or exotic cars, and I can talk about these cars all day, as you probably can tell. So the supercars and exotic cars, they're most of them are trying to have that hybrid version where they have gas and then they have electric. They have both of them, right? So I'm curious to know if you have any insight on that as it relates to Aston Martin. I don't know what they are doing, if they are starting to branch in hybrid. I'm sure they are. I believe that most supercars are just going into that hybrid territory. One, because most people are doing it now and they don't want to be left behind. But then two, when you have those hybrid engines where it's a combination of gas and electric, obviously the electric is going to cause it to go a lot faster and have a lot more horsepower. So it's just something to keep in mind, as time is going on, because this is just the wave of the future, and those cars tend to go a little bit faster. There's always a bit of, there's always some challenges with fully electric cars, as we all know, but I know a lot of the supercars, exotic cars are going into that category of hybrid. So like an example would be Lamborghini's Revuelto. I mean, that's a hybrid, has electric motors, it's got gas, so it's a hybrid vehicle. I was reading an article, was it yesterday? It was a couple days ago, where they were talking about fully electric Lamborghini, and I don't think from what I remember, that they were doing that just yet. I have to try to find that article, but it was something I was just reading, just passively reading. All right, so Danny says color is gray like James Bond. Okay, fantastic. That's a very nice color. I have to look into that, because I know with any cars you can wrap the cars in whatever color you want it to be, but I don't know if Aston Martin. I have to look into Aston Martin. I have not followed them as closely as I have some of the other ones, but they are very, very nice vehicles for sure. I don't know who owns Aston Martin right now. I'm not sure who owns them, so it's just good information to know. All right, Danny says I still like Star Wars, but I think it's Star Wars. I think Star Wars, I believe. Yeah, probably so. But I still don't get the Millennium Falcon. So I I think you're saying Star Wars. I believe so. It says stay, but I believe you meant star, because I'm assuming so. So we've talked about a lot as it relates to interviewing, specifically those power moves that are very, very helpful. And then we've also talked about my favorite topic as cars. I will always get distracted on cars. Always will talk about cars. But I do want to mention that this is what we do on live. We talk about the content, talk about how we can really help you communicate at a higher level. And then sometimes our lives will go into a different direction, and that's okay. We have talked about supercars, we've talked about exotic cars, we've talked about Bitcoin, we've talked about dropping off kids, we've talked about kids doing different things, and we have talked about being able to generate different streams of income in your career. We've talked about your bosses taking credit for other people's jobs and tasks. Our lives have been a lot of fun, which is one of the reasons why I enjoy doing them so much with you all, because we'll talk about a topic and then we just go into something else. Just like Danny and I have been talking about cars for a little bit. We like different cars. There's different cars we're trying to get. So yes, so Danny says Star Wars. Yes, so I have not, I used to be a big Star Wars fan. I have not watched Star Wars recently. I do not have the opportunity to do as much movie watching as I have done in the past. I used to be a huge movie fan, but ever since I started my business and I'm working on that and I have my kids, I don't have really a lot of time to do that. I'm always just learning other things, or working with my clients, or doing lives and preparing for events and etc. So I don't have a lot of extra time that I used to have as when I wasn't as busy as I am now, trying to build an audience and do a lot of things on YouTube and etc. So I appreciate your insight. And Danny says, you're right. Yes. Well, I appreciate that. I thought it was Star Wars. I knew that was probably what you meant. Sometimes, when you're typing, the keypads are just so close together sometimes. And it's just sometimes it's a little challenging to be able to type like you want to. So I appreciate that. Now, I do want to know from you all that are watching the replay or end up joining, what type of cars do you like? We talked about interviewing, and we talked about what are some of your challenges as it relates to specifically for interviewing. But what type of cars do you like? This is a topic of mine. And speaking of cars, I do have a graphic that I'm going to share with you all. I promise you all it's probably going to be within the next week. And I think that was last week. It will most likely be the following week. I want you all to let me know your insights on a graphic that I am going to be putting on a vehicle that is specific for my business. So I want to get your insights on that, and I will show it to you in the post categories, and I want you to vote and let me know, what do you think? So I can know if you like it, if there's something you want to change about it. Let me know your thoughts. We can grow on this journey together. Okay, so Danny says, what are your favorite movie and what's your favorite hobby? I have too many movies to be my favorite. I think I have too many. It depends on the category of movie, but I would say movies, there's too many, Danny. I used to be a movie fan. I literally had, I believe at the time, and this is years ago, I probably had at least 300 DVDs. That's how much I like movies. So there's so many of them that I've watched over the years that there's a lot. I think probably one of the videos I would say that I actually do like quite a bit, and it's a newer video. I like the Sonic series because my daughter loves Sonic. We just watched Super Mario Brothers. I actually like those. They actually were pretty funny. So and very action. I like action movies. So that would say that's more recently that I've watched. Older movies that I like quite a bit are 300. I think that's a great movie. That's the kind of movies I like to watch. I liked the movie, I believe this is the name of it, Ford versus Ferrari. I believe that was the name of it. Where, what is that gentleman's name? It's escaping my mind right now. Uh, Christian Bale. Is it Christian Bale's in it? But I think it's Ford versus Ferrari. I actually like that. I have watched. Oh, of course, you're asking me, and I'm trying to think of what the names of these movies are. The movie, the McDonald's movie, I think it's is it called Founder? I have to look back at it. It's been a while, but there's a couple ones that I've only watched recently. As I mentioned, I don't have the opportunity to really watch TV. I don't watch TV or movies like that except with my kids now. But I don't have the opportunity to really do that because I'm like heavily involved in clients and working with my clients and doing a lot on YouTube and then on LinkedIn at Dr. Jacinta Lamatai, at Instagram at Excite Excellence, and then here on YouTube is where I spend most of my time. And I spend most of my time with you all watching here on live to help you. And in terms of what's my favorite hobby, public speaking, hands down. I could public speak all day long if my voice allowed me to do so, but of course my voice would not allow me to do that all the time. But public speaking really is my hobby. It is something I love doing. That is a hobby of mine. I've always loved it. I've loved it so much that I have been in Toastmasters or with Toastmasters International for a very long time. And if you're not familiar with Toastmasters International, it is a well-renowned public speaking and leadership organization. So they have different tiers. They have 358,000 members. And so they have a specific award that's only accomplished by about 1% of their 358,000 members. And that is called the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. With the Distinguished Toastmaster Award, that means you've done probably over 50 speeches. You've done a lot of leadership activities, you've done a lot of things. And so I accomplished that Distinguished Toastmaster Award in 2019. And so that is why public speaking is a hobby for me. But this is why I bring my knowledge of public speaking to help you communicate at the higher level. And so not only have I done public speaking there, I have given Florida State congressional testimony here. I've interacted with congressional leaders in Washington, D.C. When I was a dental school student, I was one of 2 people that were selected as a dental school student to spend time with leaders on Capitol Hill. I spent time with the Senate Majority Leader. So I've been in those situations where I've had to communicate at a higher level that a lot of people do not have the knowledge about necessarily, that they're talking about in a public way, to where they can provide you with those same skills in terms of helping you stand out from everybody else. So that is why I'm here, to share with you my experiences to really help you communicate at that higher level than your peers. So when they speak to, let's say, Danny, they're like, wow, Danny is amazing. Why is Danny amazing? Well, Danny is amazing because the way he's communicating and what he does. And so that's what I do. I build leaders to be those exceptional people that we need in the world, because we need more leaders in the world today that are able to communicate in a way that helps to inspire other people. Okay, so Danny says, I like lots of cars like Audi. Yes, absolutely. For favorite, also BMW. Yes, absolutely. Porsche, McLaren, Toyota, probably the Supra. Okay, yes, Toyota Supra. I'm familiar with that one. And the Marusai, that car. Now I will tell you, I'm not familiar with that car. That's the first time I've seen that. So tell me a little bit. I have to take a look at that one. The Aston, I told you about. Yes, absolutely. What's your favorite car? My favorite car, I have a lot of them, but I have to say, hands down, favorite car of all time and will be forever and ever is a Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. That's my favorite car. That's my favorite car. It will be my favorite car forever, and I will have it at some point. So that's my favorite car. That would be my absolute favorite. Porsche is a favorite of mine. Also, I have one, so there's always a nice car. They're definitely your daily drivers. And a lot of the cars that you mentioned, BMW, Toyota, the Supra is nice. The Aston is really nice too. And the McLarens are nice also. I think at one point in time with McLaren, they, I'm trying to think of the best way I want to say it. I think they struggled a little bit. I think mechanically, because some of the issues I've heard with McLarens is that they had some problems with them. They had some problems with those cars. And I believe there was a point in time where, people are spending all these money, especially when you're getting these type of cars. They're spending all these money into these cars and the car stops working or something happens. That's not okay. That's not okay. And so I do believe McLaren has turned things around quite a bit. There's several McLarens that are really nice cars. They're really, really, really nice cars to look at. And I believe they've turned things around so more people look at them. Oh, and one other actually show I have watched that I actually did like. I did like, it was a Netflix series, and I watched, I would say, I'm trying to think of when the last episode was. It's been a while, but a Netflix series called The Fastest Car. Now I did actually watch. I watched pretty much all of that. So, and the winner of the fastest car on the season that I watched was a yellow Lamborghini. So I have watched that. Okay, so Danny says, that's your passion. Your voice is beauty. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Daniel. And yes, this is my passion. This is my passion. I really want you all to be able to communicate at a higher level. And that's what I do here on my channel, is I help you to develop those, not only those communication skills, but those leadership skills. I've been in really great situations and I've been in really bad situations as a leader, and how you respond, how you communicate to other people, and your facial expressions, your reactions, your tone of voice, and how you say it, and how you present yourself in terms of your executive presence. It truly, truly, truly does really matter significantly. And this is what I like to share with my audience, because they're learning insider skills that a lot of people don't do. And so one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning was I was going to talk to you all about the Cowboy. I did not go into Cowboy because I started talking about vehicles and cars. So the Cowboy, for those of you who are still watching, is a bonus in terms of interviewing and etc. The Cowboy is my analogy as it relates to making eye contact. So if you're trying to really impress someone and really trying to showcase yourself as that executive and leader, you absolutely want to master the Cowboy analogy I'm going to share with you in just a moment. For those of you who do not know, if you've watched my channel for any point in time, you know I talk about the Cowboy analogy often. So the Cowboy analogy specifically, when you're trying to present yourself as the executive or the leader, or you're in control of this conversation, is to think about cowboys. So if you're here based out of the United States, then there's Westerns. And so if you've watched Westerns, or if you're not in the United States, we have Western movies that were made many, many years ago. And they still make Western movies from time to time. So what happens when I talk about cowboys? Cowboys are going to be two cowboys that maybe have a disagreement. There's something they don't like. Well, what happens? They go outside. They go outside to talk about it, or they go outside to fight about it in a fight. So what happens with the cowboy is that they are looking at each other. So you got Cowboy 1 here, you got Cowboy 2 here, and they're staring at each other, right? They're staring at each other. Now, what they do most of the time is that they may squint a little bit and they look to see who's going to blink first. The person that blinks first is the person that's going to probably end up not making it out of the cowboy fight. Now, how do you apply this strategy, this analogy that I love so much, that I share with you all, in terms of how do you present yourself as an executive and start showcasing your executive presence? What I tell my clients to do, and I share with you all on YouTube here as well, is that when you are trying to establish yourself in your executive presence, this is just one tool. There's many other strategies I share as it relates to executive presence. If you want to know more, contact me for a strategy session in the description below so we can talk about it, so I can get you to that next level. But if you wanted to showcase your executive presence immediately, now this is the instant way to show your executive presence, which is helpful in an interview or any conversation, is to master the cowboy, master your eye contact. So example is, if you're looking at someone, you don't want to squint, you don't want to kind of scowl at them. That would be for your cowboy movie, but we can use what the cowboys do to help you. What you want to do is maintain eye contact with this person at all costs. You do not, and I repeat, do not want to be the first person to look away or to blink. Why? Because most of the time, majority of people are not comfortable with eye contact. They're not. It's awkward, right? It's awkward. You staring at someone is awkward. But I can tell you, if you can master how you are communicating and master your eye contact with other people, it will help you to stand out from everybody else. Because if you can master a skill that people are most of the time afraid of doing or feel awkward about it and don't feel comfortable doing, you will automatically be that person that will gain the respect of other people. So an example of this, if you're talking to someone, just stare at them. Not in a weird way. You don't want to do that. You just stare at them and just be really intent on looking at them and maintain eye contact, and do not be the first person to look away. Don't do that. So this will help you in your interview as well. Eye contact is critically important. I have a lot of videos here on my channel. I specifically talk about eye contact. What I will do is I will label, and I'm going back through my videos anyways to do some changes to my channel, because I plan on modifying a few things so it's a bit more searchable. I will go back and try to find one specifically where I'm talking about eye contact, and I will allude it to the cowboy analogy. So this is something that will absolutely help you as you're going on your journey, whether you are in a board meeting, you're in a high stakes, high pressure situation, whether you are in an interview, or you're having a day-to-day conversation with some of your team members. So eye contact, remember the cowboy. That's what I tell my clients all the time. Okay, so Danny says Lamborghini was bought by Audi in 1989, and now all Audi R8 V12s have a Lamborghini engine. Laugh out loud. It is so interesting that you mentioned that, because once you're in the car world, you have an idea as to what parts you can do with different cars. For instance, let me see. I have to look. I don't want to misspeak. But there's a lot of cars that have different engines from different people. Like BMW has different engines. So if you have a BMW, you probably can work on this car or etc. So it's very interesting how the cars work nowadays. They are bought out by different companies and they use those parts in those cars. So that's a good point, Danny, that you brought up. And appreciate you bringing your insight here in terms of when Lamborghini was bought by Audi and what type of engines Audis have. See, Daniel has a very in-depth knowledge about this because he knows that. And this is something that people would not know unless you like cars like Danny and I. You would not know that. You would say, oh, that's an Audi. Oh, that's an Audi. Oh, it's so nice. You don't know it has that Lamborghini engine in it, right? You wouldn't know that by just looking at the car. You would not know that. You would just think, oh, it's all Audi. No. That's not the way the world works in the wonderful world of cars. They have different parts. They have basically, what I've seen is like a parent. So for instance, Audi is the parent of Lamborghini at this point, right? And so they have those parts that are there. So that's something to really keep in mind. I appreciate that. All right. So Danny says, stare at them, not in a weird way. Ha ha ha. Exactly. You don't want to stare at them in a weird way. No, not in a weird way. But you want to show that you are in control and you are the one controlling the conversation. And that's how you do it, by not being the first person to look away. I've said this so many times on my channel, and people really like the cowboy, because the cowboy, if you have no executive presence, no leadership presence, no nothing at all, and you ask me, what is the one, if I only could do one thing, what is the one thing that I can do to help me with this, to help me really present myself as a leader, as an executive? I would say, if your mouth was closed and you could say nothing, cowboy is the first way you want to work. So that's where you want to start. All right, Jude B, welcome back, friend. How you doing today? Jude B says, it's been a while. It has. Well, it's been just a couple of days. Actually, I wasn't able to go live yesterday because of the event I told you about. It ended up running over, and so I couldn't get on live, and I really wanted to, because I had a special live that I want to talk to you all about. It might be this week. It's so much into it that I'm trying to unpack it. I'm trying to determine if I want to do a live, if I want to actually do a recorded video of it, because what happened yesterday is that I went to an event for my kids, and there was two different teachers that were speaking, and they said basically the same information, but one of them got a standing ovation and one of them did not, or got a clap. And I wanted to see why. And I want to pull out some pointers here, some strategies for you all to use, so that when you are in those meetings, what's going to make you be the person that people clap for? That's what I want to share with you all. And so I'm going to work on that. I'm still deciding how I want to do it, just because the topic is such a big topic. And I believe that that probably is going to be a bit more technical. So I definitely want to make sure that this is something that we're going to maybe talk about. So that's the reason why I was out and missed our live yesterday, Jude. Okay, so Jude's good. And Jude said, yeah, I saw that. I forgot you said that. Yes, I did mention that I may not be able to make it, but I'm back now today. We've been talking for a little while, and we're about to wrap up here in just a few moments. So yes, and Jude said I was confused why you weren't streaming. Yes, that is right. So absolutely, this is definitely something that I'm going to put together for you all. If you're new to me, I go live Tuesday through Friday, unless there's something that happens and I can't make it. But majority of the time, I'm here to support y'all. I come up with topics to help you in terms of how to communicate at that higher level as a leader and in your careers, to really help and get you to that next level. Of course, if you are struggling with anything, let me know. I'll put it in the comments below, and I'll be able to provide you with some support on that area. All right, so Danny says it's about interviewing. Stay focused. Exactly. Yes, and as I mentioned, cars are a topic or a trigger for me. I can talk about cars all day. And so thank you for the celebration hats and the hearts. I appreciate it. So absolutely, just, that's a topic for me specifically, and I know that. And so I'm okay with that, because we're finished talking with the topic and the main thing that we're focusing on in terms of helping women to make those power moves and leaders to make those power moves in their interviews. Okay, so Jude B says, I forgot that you were out. That's okay. Jude B says, I have to go again. Sorry, I know I just got here. No problem, Jude B. I'm actually about to wrap up, so thank you so much. Normally, I would not be live this long during the weekdays. Typically, Friday night is when I have a lot more time, when I go a bit longer. But we had a great conversation with Danny, talking about cars and a few other things, and cars will cause me to go off topic sometimes. All right, so very good. Oh, okay. Danny said, don't world to stay. Jude B says, wait, never mind. I can't stay. Oh, okay. No problem. Well, we had a really great live. There's a lot of great resources here on my channel, specifically as it relates to interviewing. So there's a significant amount of interviewing topics that I have here. Just take a look at the videos. Great information specifically on my lives. My recorded, I'm going to actually add a lot more to those very soon with the reviews I talked to you about in terms of leaders. But if you're trying to really go to that next level in your leadership journey and communicate, then don't wait. Don't try to figure it out on your own. This is the reason why you are here, so that I can support you. So just contact me for a strategy session below. We'll talk about where you are, where you want to be, and I will help you get to that next level in terms of how you're communicating as a leader. So Danny says, yay, and Jude B says, I can stay. Well, Jude B, I'm glad you're here. So let me know when you come back next time, because I'm going to go ahead and get off of here so I can get a couple things taken care of on my end. But I will be back tomorrow, probably a little bit later in the evening, and hopefully I'll catch you. And then if you have any questions specifically, let me know. But I appreciate you all being here today and being present for the live. Danny, I appreciate your dialogue and conversation about cars. Really enjoyed that, and I'm sure a lot of the individuals that are watching the replay will enjoy it also. And hopefully they'll put some of their favorite cars in the description, in the comments below. So I look forward to seeing you all in the next live. And if you enjoy this content, enjoy the dialogue and discussion, feel free to subscribe and like the video so it gets out to other people, or share it with some of your other colleagues that are trying to go to that next level in their career. So I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.